What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ducks and Download, and in this episode, we are going to be, of course, going over The Bad Batch. What an amazing day. We are pre-recording this one as we have been usually, and we were able to watch Bad Batch today. It is the drop day of it, and honestly, hey, I got to give it up to the internet. People did really good with this premiere, not trying to spoil it immediately. Like, I knew a lot of people that were up at 3 a.m. watching. No one really tried to heavy spoil.
I think I saw one minor spoiler, but I actually think it's later on. And it was actually the Star Wars channel. They have like a little 9-second teaser.
Oh, yeah.
I think it has Rex in the picture, so spoiler.
Right.
I think it's the closest I have. I think one thing that helps too is Bad Batch isn't as hyped compared to the other shows.
Yeah, which is nuts because honestly, like, a lot of people are starting to say, is Bad Batch one of the best animated series? And like, they're taking it from the aspect of like looking at Empire Strikes Back as the best movie, just on like plot device, movement, character development, like story aspect, not so much what is the fans' favorite, but just as a well-written, well-cohesive story. Bad Batch is really, really amazing at that, actually.
Well, I think it really helps that we kind of had two strong series that predate it.
Yeah.
That help them develop it better. I feel like if the shows are reversed, it probably with the same scenario. Just we've seen this is kind of even though it's not all the same writers and everything, all the same animes, we still see we have things developed from the original Clone Wars series. And then some things they've learned from also doing Rebels.
Right.
And you can kind of see what they've learned from doing both series kind of coalesce into just a fantastic series.
Exactly. Yeah. They've spent so much time on it. They're really honing that skill, which I hope it doesn't stop. Besides like Tales of the Jedi and stuff, we got to do another animated somehow. Like, the animated shows do really good, and they drop a lot more lore and like cool background stuff than people give them credit for, because they expect all the big lore to come from the movies. But no, these shows, that's the filler, like in a good way. That fills all these plot holes that we just haven't connected yet.
And the writing is better than, honestly, I feel like the writing's better in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of the best writing that we get. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. It's definitely better than some of the movies. It's better than, I mean, it is, like I said, it is because it's so late that we're receiving it. They've kind of learned in a way, they've progressed, and it's good that we're seeing an evolution of content.
Yeah.
That the animation studios have had way more experience than the current live action that we're getting with the TV series. They're still learning. I'm sure when we start seeing more of these later live action, we'll see the same kind of conditioning where they've learned this is what we need to do, this is what we shouldn't do. People, this doesn't work really well, like with Boba Fett or some parts of Mandalorian. Even a lot of live, even first season Mandalorian, there were still some things that didn't go so well.
Yeah.
And they're learning. You could see that in season 3. So yeah, it's.
I got to say, with the writing and the way that the characters have been handled just in these 3 episodes, again, for like story devices, character development, and like how much I actually care about the characters, because one, we don't know what's going to happen really with them. I like it more than Clone Wars. Like, Clone Wars was amazing, but like, again, we always say it was a serial episode. Like, nothing huge was supposed to happen. Whereas, no, Bad Batch is like, there's this set story that's going to have set plot points and set highs and lows, and then it's going to end. And this is it. This is the final season. And they're not holding back on that. Like, they're really pushing. Like, we know that, like, we saw Crosshair's armor behind Hunter.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people are saying, too, is we saw so many things. There was like a quick little excerpt that's been posted. There's some quick little trailer and teaser trailer. And a lot of the teaser trailer was already shown off in these 3 episodes. Yeah. Besides like the swamp planet and Finnick and stuff, we've now pretty much seen almost all of the trailer now shown. And I did not expect that in the first 3 episodes. These episodes went hard.
The only major spoiler that we've gotten is we know Crosshair doesn't die on the escape, which, there's always that like slight chance, but we know he's going to make it. So,
and this kind of went, and I like the way they did this one too, where it was like, this is Omega dealing with being separated. Here's the batch in the second episode trying to find Omega, and then the third is Omega saying, "We got to get out of here."
Well, I think that's one thing that the Clone Wars that they've learned since the Clone Wars. One is the connectivity, because they did start doing that later on in the later seasons. But one thing they did wrong with Clone Wars that they did well with Rebels is that the Clone Wars kind of focused on Anakin mostly for the beginning, and then Ahsoka. But they would never do like a group of a team that would kind of feed off each other for majority of the time. Normally it's like back and forth. Like you get Anakin, then you get Ahsoka, then you get some clones. It was never like a group. And Rebels came out and we had a solid group that really fed the story. Each one had their own strength and they fed off each other. So it definitely raised the drama, the writing, the communication. So when we get this similar situation with Bad Batch,
and man, it's crazy too, because like when Kanan sacrificed himself, I felt something, but this whole first episode, watching Omega deal with this pain of like being in this place, that was crazy cool. Like I felt a lot of emotion for Omega and what she's been going through, and like how everything was like kind of going wrong for her and stuff. I really enjoyed the first episode. The second episode was probably the weaker of the three. Not in a bad way. It was just a, hey, we got to figure out where she is. Oops, not here. But then the third one, man, the third one had me like on the edge of my seat. Like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff and all this crazy action and like the suspense of it all. And just big thing. Episode 3, I think one of my favorite things I've seen in Bad Batch ever is how certain for a brief moment Omega was when she was looking at Crosshair and went, I mean, we can steal the Emperor's ship. But before we get too far into episode 3.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't, though. They definitely grounded it.
Yeah. But so the first episode, again, it's Omega going through. We see her in the beginning. She has like 15 days marked, and then it's been like 6-9 months, something crazy. She has longer hair now. She's doing a lot with Nala Se, but Nala Se is doing something for her too. Well, I think the crazy thing is watching Nala Se actively tamper with things. So she's like, if they test your blood, bad things will happen to you. They start mentioning the M count a lot. And I kind of pieced it together early on because, I mean, it's the only other M word that has to deal with blood cells and stuff. It's midichlorians.
Yeah. We kind of know where things are going.
Right.
Which we discussed the theory before that, like I said, she's the missing kind of force material that they need to.
Right. Like Grogu's going to help build up the power, but they needed like Omega to like put it together into Palpatine.
Well, I wonder too if Grogu's still. Well, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Hemlock says not only trying to replicate the M count, but also increase it. Like, I'm pretty sure the reason Darth Sidious is so powerful in the sequels is because he literally amplified his force ability.
Well, they did have control of Grogu. That's that's how they got him. I wonder if, because Grogu was, he escaped, so we know he's not like a clone or anything.
Yeah.
Unless, what if he is a clone? They worked on implanting old memories in him. It could be something like that, or I think he's like a later experiment, either increasing the force, or, like I said, maybe cloning somebody and implanting memories, and that could be why some of his memories, or why he can't, why he's mentally reduced. It could be just a lack of memories for our oldest species gets. So it could be something like that.
But yeah, this first one, we get so many awesome moments where it's just like, how is Omega? And she's doing her best to survive the Omega way. She makes friends with a local little like hound-like creature, trying to just give something. She makes a straw, one of those little bunnies.
Chicken nuggets.
Gives it her food. And then
they look like little chicken nuggets. The first one, my wife kind of was like bored of. Yeah, and I get that for people that like things to be faster. I thought it was a really well set up for everything, for sure.
Yeah,
I could see how it's slow, but
it's supposed to be monotonous. Like, that was kind of the point of it. This day to day that she has to be forced through. And man, Crosshair, I thought he was gonna be a vegetable the first time we saw it. The first few times we see Crosshair, I thought they had like lobotomized him.
Yeah, oh, because of the head.
Yeah, he was just so like, whoa. He just looked like a zombie.
You hear from what he said there, he's already tried multiple times. He's pretty much given up on any chance because he knows the rest of the team ain't gonna come for him. He's given up on anyone rescuing him.
He keeps telling Omega, stop, like, leave me. I would leave you, so leave me. Which we know now he wouldn't. Crosshair wouldn't leave Omega.
Well, he wouldn't, but he's trying to get her to escape and not worry about him because and then if she does, it's a risk that she shouldn't be making.
Exactly. We do get to see he has a trimmer in his hand now, which will affect later episode. Like he's shaken because Hemlock's been like hammering re-education into this guy, trying to strengthen his connection to that chip and make him back into a good soldier. Which I can't imagine the torture pretty much he's been going through. So we don't see too much of Hemlock in the first one. He's busy doing his own thing. We get a lot of the clone sister. My wife swears up and down she's not a clone. She's just pretending or like kind of is one. But like, she looks a lot. She sounds a lot like him. But who knows?
I wonder because I think she has tendencies to want to help her, but she's still... I'm wondering if that we see, it looks like it's part of her goggles, but the band on the back of her head, I wonder if she's got modifying tech to brainwash her.
Oh,
I know we can do the chip, but
kind of like Lobot.
Yeah, the back of her head looks like one of those the droid people that you've seen before, like
or Echo and yeah, true.
It doesn't look like it kind of looks at first like it's part of the, but why would those goggles need that much tech?
Yeah. When you don't see any, like, they don't light up, they don't ever really do anything, they're just glasses almost.
Yeah, it looks like Echo's head almost. Yeah. So I'm wondering if she's partially programmed in a way.
But it is
she was a defective clone and they had to use that to I don't know.
Kind of thing, yeah. She's really smart, but she couldn't handle it, so they just implanted a computer in her.
Or she didn't survive, maybe, and they put that in there to... like her brain wasn't fully developed. Now she's like part droid.
Right. Which Hemlock would not be opposed to. He doesn't care. These clones don't mean anything. They're not real people to them.
That would be more reason why he would want her to help too, because she'd be easier to control if you think about it.
But we do, and we all kind of knew it, but yeah, we're on Mount Tantus, which is definitely a cloning facility, which is definitely where the Emperor is trying to work on his cloning stuff. And Hemlock has just been taking blood samples from every other clone that came before to try and find a match to take Palpatine's M count and not destroy his ability to use the Force, pretty much.
Yeah, the same or exceeds, so that way, that way when they do clone, which we all know it's going to happen, Palpatine, that they can clone a Force using Palpatine, so he can come back. Which is where you get the later on we've heard it before. It's Project Necromancer.
Yeah, exactly. Which we hear about. Yeah, Mandalorian with Gideon and the Dark Council and stuff.
Not subtle of a name at all.
Yeah, right. But the first episode again, a little on the slow side, but not like story-wise slow. There's a lot to take in. It was just only one location. Like they didn't jump back and forth between Hunter and Omega. It was literally just here's Omega in this place.
Yeah, they wanted to really. It did what it needed to do, which is set the scene, set how the season's going to start, set what the prison's like, how Omega, how Crosshair were.
Well, and because
we didn't really get where the other two.
But because the way they set that up, I thought this is going to last forever. I had no idea, but by the end of these 3 episodes, things are going to change as much as they will.
Yeah, well, we only get 8 episodes, so they're
kind of moving it, but in a good way.
I'm glad that we at least got the couple episodes we did.
Yes.
Of kind of the clone prison arc in a way.
We
only really got it like an episode and a half of it, really, if you think about it.
Right.
But I think it did a really good job of it, though.
Yes. But we even get to see those moments. Yeah, again, it's so hard to tell with that sister clone. I always forget her name, but because like she takes Omega's little doll away and then eventually gives it back because she feels bad for her and stuff. So it's like, do you like her or not? I am so confused. Omega saves her. She has her friend dog is wounded. They realize, oh, it's getting too docile. We're gonna kill it. So she frees it. Which then Hemlock comes in. He's like, that was stupid. I love that whole conversation though, because like Omega's like, you can't hurt me. And he's like, I don't have to hurt you. I'll hurt your friends. And then you did that to them, and that will break you.
The only thing I felt out of character that Hemlock didn't really do much. I mean, he restricted her access. I expected Hemlock to punish her a lot worse.
Oh, I expected him to like take Crosshair's arm off and throw it in her cell and be like, you did that. He's twisted, but like he does. You almost can tell he literally just cares about science more than anything else. He is obsessed.
Yeah. Well, think about it. When they had the squad of stormtroopers crash land on the planet, it's apparently dangerous outside the perimeter.
Yeah, they die immediately.
He just let them die. We don't need to.
Yeah, he just turns the comm off.
He said we don't even need to send a recovery team. But when Omega and Crosshair escape, they send a big force. Well,
all of them.
They send a force out there, and they rally the troops. I'm like, it's like their own soldiers. They don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's scientific assets, it's a big
deal. Oh yeah. So the first episode again, like it's great for again setting up a lot of stuff. We don't like. There's no failed attempt to escape. It's just Omega has done the smart thing, and she's buying her time trying to figure a plan out. She even talks to Crosshair about that. Like she's like, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna save you. I've just got to figure out how.
I also like how she really doesn't know Crosshair's kind of back himself.
Yeah.
Because last time she's seen Crosshair, he was trying to kill them.
Yep.
So it's crazy that she's like, she doesn't even like stop to like question. She's like, I'm rescuing you.
Yeah, you're my brother.
She doesn't even question it. She's like, you're coming with me, regardless. Right. I don't care what you're saying.
Yep, exactly. Which was so awesome to hear. But honestly, then we get the action that the first one does not deliver, the next two exceed. But the third one, more in the later part, this middle one, though, is where we get to finally meet back up with Wrecker and Hunter, who are going through their own thing. Like, they really show the distress, not only in their armor, like how banged up it now is, it looks a little different, but they're really like, even Wrecker, for one, Wrecker is speaking like smarts to Hunter. Hunter like, we gotta go save her. And Wrecker like, well, hold on, we're only two clones. You remember the last time we tried to storm an Imperial base with no reinforcements?
Yeah, he definitely lost his kind of childish personality. He always had kind of this kind of childish personality. Like he did well with Omega. They always kind of played together and stuff. And he definitely is. I mean, they've been through a lot up to that point, like season 2. But even more because they lost Tech and then they lost Omega.
I think one of the cooler things is too, we've never seen a Deveronian crime syndicate before, have we?
We've seen bits with Clone Wars, but not. I don't think we've seen like to the scale.
So, because that's one of the fun things. I really enjoyed that. This like it kind of opens on this like court being held by this. I imagine Deveronians by the way they're colored and their horns and stuff. This high, awesome, really like cool horned Deveronian is sitting up on his throne.
I've never seen one like that before.
Right,
Most of them are just the generic red ones.
Yep. And she's purple with like 2 sets of horns.
Well, she has like the horns almost connect in the middle. They're like massive. They're not the normal little ones. Yep.
And one of her person in front of her is missing one. So we're like, oh, what happened there? We find out Hunter and Wrecker are bringing them the Pike that took that Deveronian's horn to get intel to hopefully find Omega. But I just really enjoyed that scene of just like this Deveronian, because they're very powerful. The Deveronians themselves are a very strong species because they live on a high grav planet. So it was just another really cool thing to be like, oh wow, that's just a fun little bit of world building.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what gang they were going to. I don't think they even named what they're called, did they?
Yeah, they didn't. No, they just kept saying the family, something like that.
Yeah, I like when they drop stuff like that. And then just like the Solo movie, never touch on it ever again.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was cool. The armor was very. I don't think we've seen the armor before.
It was cool to see how the Deveronians still have their horns like protrude through the helmet. They just have a helmet to cover it. That pilot guy looked really cool. I liked his armor design.
It's probably like more of an honor thing to them, being like dwarves in their beard.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the fact that he had his horn, because he said like they disrespected him and he cut his horn off.
Oh, it was like disgraced. So he's getting that Pike got taken away to be tortured. So they get the intel though. They go to this very thick jungle planet, which at first you're like, oh, did they get good intel? But then we quickly find out like, no, it's not. That's not Mount Tantus. It's not the actual planet they're supposed to be going to. They go out. It's creepy. It's crawly. They're like, what the hell's going on? And they do. I never in a million years would have thought they run into young clones. Never would I was like, oh, cool, they found some base. They're just going to go like sneak around and have some crazy mission and get some intel or something. No, they meet a group of 3 young clones that are just surviving. They're just doing what they can on this planet.
I like how they immediately goes, "You're clones? You're defective, aren't you?
Yeah.
You must be part of 99.
Yeah, immediately. You don't look like you should. Defective and effective. I love Wrecker so much. It's a fun time though. You get to see Wrecker again. Kind of that little bit of childish does come out of him with these kids around. So he's not soul dead, thankfully, but they pretty much have to sneak into this Imperial base that they find out was pretty much orbital bombarded because of this creeping vine thing that is now taken over the jungle. Like there's all these vines that say, don't touch the vines. And then you see the kid just literally like elbow one vine and then mix the other. You're like, oh, but you said don't. Oh, those vines. Don't touch those vines. Because it attacks them. And they have to, Hunter cuts off the vine. But yeah, this creepy slithery vine gets literally cut off. And the crazy thing to me is when it hits the ground, it then takes off. It doesn't die. It just slithers off like a snake.
Well, and we found out from the clones it's from their Empire experimentation.
Yes.
This isn't local fauna.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool that it plays on his previous experiments that he's done before with when he had to clone the Zillobees.
Yes.
So him experimenting on crazy beasts isn't new.
It's not new, but it's also, again, it's so amazing to see because then also like in the old lore, things like dark side alchemy and these imperial monstrosity creatures, they were really used in a lot of the older EU books and the older lore, especially like Old Republic and stuff. The old Sith Empire loved to create leviathans and these evil monsters just made to destroy planets. Like that was they loved it. They got off on that kind of stuff. And this creature is like taking over this entire base. So it looks like it's going to be a very crazy like infiltration. And of course the 3 kids are like, well, there is of course one terminal in there that does work, but it doesn't have any power. So
and it's in the heart of it all.
Of course. So I was like, well, what are they going to do? I did not expect Wrecker to just strap Gonk on his back and just go hiking.
Yeah, it's also interesting that I think this is the first time we've ever seen a Gonk droid used practically.
Yeah.
They've always just kind of been there in the background. I don't think we've ever seen them really function.
Yeah, we see one plugged into something every great now and again, but this one's like, no, this is literally like, don't forget, Gonk droids are just a big power bank that can kind of waddle around.
Yeah, and don't forget that very impractical design for those little feet that barely do anything.
Especially how heavy it is, because the only reason, like, that's why Wrecker had to carry it, because he's the only one strong enough to.
At least, like, R2 units get, like the little tracks or wheels or whatever.
And a jetpack.
Yeah, Gonks just get feet that they can barely move normal on flat surfaces, let alone a jungle.
Right, and they move like this, like it's like such a slow pace that they waddle around in. But I love Gonk droids. They're a cult classic favorite little glub shitto droid. So
it's and those things gotta be, because you think about how heavy batteries are. I think it's gotta be so heavy.
Oh, a battery that size, that's also bad, because it's not only a battery for the things around it, it's running itself. So it's like, yeah, it's gotta be huge inside of there, just massive battery cells. It's gotta easily weigh, like, I'm almost curious how much they weigh. I bet we can find out something about it. But the Gonk droid is
fashion, he doesn't get bothered by it ever.
Oh, never once. Like, he's climbing with it. He's jumping around with it. Let's see. But they meet the 3. There's, what is it, Moxie or Mox or something? Then there's Spec. They all have their nicknames, of course, because they are clones. They tell them, like, no, man, like, if you go in there, this creeping vine stuff, it will take you. No one ever makes it out. But because they're looking for Omega, because they're like, no, we have to go save our friend. We have to go save her. Then they're like, okay, well, I like that. One of them goes, then they eventually, you know, things will turn out good. But the other two start like even talking about like maybe just stealing their ship and leaving, which I don't blame them. They've been lost on a jungle island or planet for how long now? I mean, for that growth to have happened, it had to have been a few years, maybe. But it's an absolutely amazing, like, sense of dread because once they do finally start sneaking into this Imperial base, that's when you start to see, oh yeah, these vines are everywhere. But not only the vines, there's like these little face hugger like creatures that almost look like a Kirak hound or a Crix hound, you know, the ones from KOTOR that are
We see
in
a slightly bigger one as well.
Yeah.
We don't ever see it fight or anything. We see it crawling around or like walking around.
Right. So there's this thing is able to like spawn its own weird little like recon units. They're dodging the vines. They're just trying to walk through. We get to the power cell, or we get to the console, start to power it up, and of course, tentacles burst out of the water everywhere, and all hell breaks loose because they're doing the thing. It's one of those, you know, the kids under there like, give me a second, I gotta get this data, and they're just shooting everything they can.
Yeah, Hunter's like, just unplug it. We gotta go.
Yeah, we can't. We're all gonna die. Which was a really good scene.
Yank it out.
Yeah.
We don't even wait to finish. He just tells them, yank it out, let's go.
Yep.
And then the two kids that were originally going to steal the ship.
Yeah. Change of heart.
Luckily, they're like, hey, we need backup. They're like, you know, I'm glad they didn't like ask like, how'd you get here to the ship so fast? You know? They question him, but I wonder if in the back of Hunter's head he's like, these two were gonna steal our ship.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure Hunter was like, look, I'm not going to be mad at you because it worked out, but I know what you were doing. You were in our ship. I love how like the one kid's like, oh, look, a DC-17 blaster. He's like, oh, wow. But it's really fun to think about their side of this too, because these kids are constantly talking like, well, we're meant to be soldiers. What do we even do now? Like, we've been trained our whole lives to fly and fight, and now the government that made us doesn't even want us.
Yeah, they abandoned them, where they're gonna experiment on them.
Yep. So they were able to escape once, you know, all this bad stuff was happening, because I guess the creeping vine just got out of control.
Yeah, and the worst part is it's like they're never gonna be used because they won't be because they're not even the type of clones to become the commandos, so they won't even get that satisfaction.
Which, yeah, Hemlock loves commandos, man.
Well, if you know commandos, I wouldn't blame them. They're better than any stormtrooper.
Right, and Mount Tantus is just filled with commandos. We have a few that are like specially colored with like gray on them, but then there's Scorch, which is the only like well-known one.
We see like a common one just leading a squad of stormtroopers.
Yeah.
So. But the commandos, and if you don't know, originally we're all trained by elite Mandalorian, but I don't know if that's ever changed canonically.
Yeah.
But they were they're like the Star Wars equivalent of a Spartan.
Yep.
They're the strongest stormtroopers essentially, and yeah, they drop in small squads and wreck up the bad guys.
Oh yeah, squad of 4 can take down a whole thing by themselves. They're like they're the OG Bad Batch.
Bred too, because they're not just like normal people. I believe they're especially like they're stronger, faster, normal clones too.
Yeah, it's like they were kind of what Clone Force 99 was supposed to be, but instead of one attribute cranked up, they have all of them kind of turned up.
Well, yeah, I think Wrecker. I think originally, because you could tell with his like equipment, I think he was originally supposed to be a commando.
Yeah, his chest plate and stuff looks a lot more like that.
He's got the shoulders. The part of his helmet is a hybrid helmet. I don't know if you ever know. Back of his helmet's a clone commando helmet. The front's cut off, and he put. Some people think he put
like a blast shield or something.
Well, no, it's the same helmet that you see in Rebels, where it's like the face helmet.
Okay. I mean, it works out for him. He likes to blow stuff up, so it makes sense for him to have that helmet. Very heavy, you know, small visor, heavy shielding. But it won't save them if they fall into this water where this giant thing is trying to consume them. The ship pulls up. They drop down the rappel cords. The kid goes up. Wrecker starts going up. Hunter starts to go up. And that's when things get nutty, Because then the whole creature finally shows up, and we see this massive maw of just teeth and just all over the place, like very, very Sarlacc looking.
Yeah, it's essentially, if you imagine a Sarlacc but plant.
Yep. In the jungle.
Vine Sarlacc
Which, again, Sarlacc can, if you guys didn't know this, Sarlacc are actually an intergalactic species. They shoot their children out into space, and then wherever the kid lands, they just live.
And now, the one from Tatooine, I don't even think's close to being a full size either.
So. Yeah, no. But I highly recommend everyone go read the Return of the Jedi, a certain point of view book, because one of the opening stories is from the Sarlacc's point of view, and it's so funny. But yeah. I also like to add, and I know this could be this. We talked about it a touch earlier, but I honestly almost think this is more genetic splicing. Like they're working on cloning Zillo Beast. They're working on this. Could this be like part Drangir, part Sarlacc, or was it just a Sarlacc that was enhanced, given like more vegetation powers because of its ability to regrow?
It definitely feels like they stole some of the DNA from Sarlacc and added something else. I honestly feel like all the vines we saw, even out in the jungle, are part of that one creature.
Right.
It's all one creature because it seems like it's alive when they attack it.
Yeah. And that's why, because like when we go through the Old Republic comics, they have the Great Progenitor, which is like the first Drangir, which is just this massive mouth. It's got like a lot of mouths and tentacles that birthed all the other Drangir. Now, of course, if it was Drangir, it would have been a lot worse for them because when they cut one of those vines off, another one would have started growing from it. But maybe they I would imagine also if the Empire was going to try and make something out of Drangir DNA, they would take away its ability to never die.
Yeah, the Empire, it's just so funny that it got so out of control. They just left the planet. They blew up the lab and left the planet. Just left it there, like
which didn't even kill it. Problem. They orbitally bombarded the planet and didn't kill it.
If any, it definitely got stronger after that. That's
sure. So it was really awesome. This like man versus nature kind of aspect that really pushed through. It was a great episode.
We kind of learned that's kind of like his side projects that he does because when the Emperor visits, he's talking about his other weapons that he's working on.
Yeah,
and Emperor's like, I didn't come here for that.
That's really cool, Necromancer.
But that's like that's a throwaway line of like, I'm basically been playing Frankenstein over here.
Yep.
Dr. Frankenstein making these monsters.
Yeah.
And for
what is it? The other one, Dr. Monroe or whatever. Yeah.
Well, Frankenstein's the name of the doctor that made Frankenstein. Yeah. Or the monster.
Yeah, but then there's like the Dr. Monroe's Island where he's taking animals and splicing them together.
So I wonder if we're going to see more of these like crazy creatures that the Empire has just sitting on like in lab somewhere just to unleash.
Right, I mean,
why do you need the Death Star when you can just drop a vine that turns into a Sarlacc crazy beast?
Right.
You know, think about it, like.
Yeah. Or what is the other one? One of my favorites is the giant space squid that we see for a second in Solo. The something Verminoth. It's called like a Verminoth, but it's just like this giant space squid that lives by black holes and stuff. There's promise, like you said. Yeah, there's a lot of promise for there to be some cool stuff.
That's what it's like. Thing he's thinking. It's like why spend all this money on the Death Star? Like, just make this like creature that will just do it for us. Just drop it off, and it just keeps growing, takes over the whole planet.
Yep, and whatever it doesn't take over, it just eats. So
I almost would rather have the Death Star.
Oh, dude, that's less scary. The plant thing is way more terrifying than the Death Star.
You just blow up the Death Star and it's done.
Yeah. You got to like eradicate this thing. They had to dump like an entire crate of explosives into its mouth, and we don't even know if that killed it.
I guarantee you didn't kill it. The fact that it kind of went back in hiding, just shows that it was injured, not dead.
Right?
If it was dead, it would
tentacles.
Just lay limp.
Yeah, the tentacles didn't fall down; they just went. Ooh.
Yeah, it went back in hiding because it was like an injured animal. It wasn't like he's like, "Ow, that hurt. I'm gonna go."
Yeah, you're not worth it anymore. Yeah,
because if it killed it, it would just go limp and lay there.
Yeah. So it's definitely still alive. So whatever that planet is, that's on the no-fly list. because it almost took the Marauder in. Like, it had a hold of the Marauder, very Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett style, where the Sarlacc's trying to like pull him in.
Yeah, it would have made for a great book.
Yeah.
So, poking you a little there.
Right.
No, yeah. So we get the whole episode was just a fun episode, but really set things up. For it did basically what the first episode did, just with a lot more action. Whereas like this is what these two are up to.
Yep. Because it's
kind of sad to see them two, but yeah.
Oh, it was very sad to see like just the two of them doing their thing. Because like it feels like because we know Echo's alive. He's just busy with Rex. That's one of the things Wrecker mentions is he's like, it's gonna take Rex and Echo 2 rotations to get here. We have to be patient. And Hunter's like, we don't have that much time. It's a lot of fun though, and they do finally get a sector. So as much everyone's like, oh, it's a space sector. That's big. It's still a lot of space. That's probably like 4 or 5 systems maybe, but
it's a hidden base on some random planets. That's going to be. It's even if you find the planet, you may not find the base. So.
Right, and this is where I was like, okay, so this is going to take a while for us to get to Tantus and figure all this stuff out. Nope. Episode 3 then comes in and it's just like, we're going nuts. Here we go.
We kind of connect some more dots because the Emperor shows up.
Which that was cool.
I love how Crosshair says, this is the worst time to escape. What do you mean the Emperor's here? It's like, you could have planned for the worst day. I'm like, thank you for pointing that out, because I was thinking that. I'm like, but I mean, I get why she has to leave.
Yes, so pretty much, finally, Nalase is forced to be with Hemlock to speak with the Emperor, who's going to go talk about Project Necromancer. And I am not going to go over the fact that when you go into that room, we finally get to go into this secret vault room where we see what are the clones of Palpatine. And
we don't get to see.
But we know that he talks about he's protecting them.
Yeah, they're showing without showing.
That room had so much quick little bit of like, lore. It's filled with Sith sigils and Sith language. The runes you see is called Urkatat. That is the ancient language of the Sith. I'm pretty sure you have to use the dark side, because they even say it in was it Rise of Skywalker or something like that, or Last Jedi? Pippin's character says some ancient Sith magic that's been lost for thousands of years for cloning and replication. So this is 100% like they are imbuing these clones with the blood and essence of other clones to try and make them force sensitive, and they're pushing the dark side, and like they're using the dark side to manipulate all of this.
Yeah, they're basically stealing the throwaway line from episode 3. Darth Plagueis the Wise with the cloners.
Yeah.
It's basically the same concept of like the dark side's ability to kind of create and manipulate life. At the same time making clone. And that's kind of how you have to do somebody so powerful, because you think about how the manipulation of the clones itself, so to make somebody Sidious and able to continue his power. Like I said, also they got to figure out how to implant his memories, because he doesn't want to be like, because if they don't do that, then he just like the clones think they're just a brand new person. So he's got to put his memory, so essentially he doesn't die, because he just wakes up as a new.
I would love it.
Body.
They make one, because he's gonna also essence transfer. That's the other part. Is he's gonna put his soul in the host body, but like with his son, who was one of his strand casts, he just woke up one day and went, "I don't want to listen to you anymore. I don't like you're not my dad. Screw off." Like, can you imagine if Palpatine had a full clone and that full clone's like, "I would rather be on the beach."
But does he really need to transfer his essence? If he has midichlorians, it can connect to the Force, and he has the memories of.
Well, that's the thing. Remember, essence, the Force, and the midichlorians literally exist physically in their blood.
Yeah.
So he can't transfer his Force and stuff, but he can transfer his memory. He can transfer his thought, his personality.
Well, and if they can clone the ability with a good midichlorian count, and he has the memory of being able to manipulate the Force with a good midichlorian count, he doesn't really necessarily need to transfer like an essence or like a soul-like entity at that point.
I feel like it's still essence transfer though, because Palpatine doesn't want to die at all, so he's not going to allow any part of him to ever die. I feel like it's the essence transfer
Yeah.
though, just because of the how long it took, and he was like, "No, I've got to get me into one of them." And that's also like it goes off of Bane, it goes off of the old lore. Like there has not been a single Sith who actually obtained immortality. It's all been essence transfer.
Well, how they kind of do it in the sequels, I feel like you didn't fully do that because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Until he had a good one.
well, I don't think you fully essence transfer because if you think about it, you don't really need it because if you have the same memories as your old body, to that new clone, you are you.
I just don't know how you can clone memories.
That's what they got to figure out, I guess.
That's why, yeah, that's just my biggest thing why I do believe it's still essence transfer, just because like I don't think you can clone mental synapse.
That's what I was wondering if maybe that's why Grogu was so important.
Right.
So I wonder if he might. Well, this is just a theory thrown out there.
Yeah.
Him being the other piece. What if he is a clone of the original Grogu, but they transferred memories from the original Grogu to that body?
Right.
And that's one reason why he's kind of like I said, maybe mentally damaged in a way, where he's like kind of childish or can't speak and stuff.
Well,
so
yeah,
maybe their first successful attempt at it.
He's only 50. That doesn't mean he has to be walking and talking. We don't know how their species age. And I like Ahsoka says, yeah, he has PTSD. He doesn't remember anything because he doesn't want to.
Well, that's just the theory because he's still important to.
Yes.
Well, but why is he important?
Right.
That's just the theory that I could throw.
Oh, another fun one that was connected to is the lab techs are wearing 100% the same uniform Dr. Pershing is wearing in the beginning of Mandalorian when we see him. So like they're they're very, very hardly making sure we connect. That's
the cloner uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That symbol is the same one the cloners would wear in their uniforms.
And then so we finally get though Emperor's there. Nala Se has to go with him. They go in this dope ass Sith room of torture and alchemy.
Him traveling, it was my first thought was he had I think 8 little the prototype of the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
And just that ship, I'm like, man, he's traveling really light just to be traveling the galaxy.
Yeah.
I get he's supposed to be secret, but still, I'm like, he could easily be taken down right there.
I'll bet there were probably 2 Star Destroyers, in orbit, just chilling.
Well, I don't know if you... Well, you kind of have to take a Star Destroyer, I think, to transport them there. But you also want to be careful because it's obvious when you see where a Star Destroyer is going. But I don't know. I just figured there's a little more firepower escorting the Emperor.
Right. He's also really cocky. Yeah. But he does make it there. And Nala Se pretty much says, they've taken your blood. I'm not able to destroy it like I have been for the last few months, almost like a year or something now. Yeah. You have to leave today or you're done. They're going to lock you up and they're going to rip all your organs out. And they're going to she's pretty much telling her now or never.
Is she, well, at that point, she can't get rid of it without making it obvious. And she's like, you got to leave now.
And I love how it's almost like a ticking clock. The centrifuge is spinning because it's a full centrifuge, like a lot of blood samples are. They put it in the very far one, not this one. So it's slowly making its way around.
And it's funny at the beginning of the first episode, they really kind of set the scene for how that thing functions.
Yeah.
It's they keep focusing on it like it's important.
And then it becomes the timer.
So by the time it becomes important, you know how that thing functions.
Yes.
You know how important it is.
Which is why that slow pace of the first episode was so necessary. Because now when she's talking to Crosshair, when she's planning how to escape, when she's saying, we're going to use these tunnels to get out from the hound I let loose earlier, all of that's already there. It was already all set up.
They laid the groundwork in episode 1.
So that's why.
They let the dog out where they showed the machine. And it's funny to think about it, too, is the cloners, they knew she had midichlorian count.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they kept her.
Yeah, Nala Se knew.
She got rid of because she let him. She had her escape when the Empire were closing them down.
Yeah,
she knew how important she was, and that's what we kind of knew about, but we didn't know why she was important. And even to the point where they have her captured, she's actively sabotaging, protecting that kind of secret formula,
right?
And keeping that away. And then when they gets discovered, she's like, "You got to get out of here." partially, to save her life because she cares
Hmm.
about her. But knowing how cloners really work, I think it's more to protect her DNA sequence.
Oh yeah.
Because none of the cloners really care about the clones ever.
I would
I think
say
it's more
yeah, none of them care that much, but
she's like the
Nalase
secret
cares the
formula.
most. Yes. Yeah, Nalase cares the most, which isn't a lot, but it's enough for her to be like, I just don't want the kid to die because I don't just please leave.
Well, I still think part of it is kind of you think that she cares about her life. I think a big
Yeah.
portion is so they don't take what they figured out. Because she's up to that point actively sabotaging anything that led to Omega. Even when you go to the
Hmm.
first season, she's sabotaging the records and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying she's completely heartless, but they kind of are.
Well, I would say my thing is if like the leader of the Kiminoans knew about a force sensitive clone, they would have used the hell out of it. Because, like, obviously in season 2, when Omega goes to that other Kiminoan base, she's like,
Yeah.
what were they doing? They were horribly testing on their own people to force evolution onto them, as they have been for thousands of years. The original Kiminoans looked nothing like what they do now.
Well, they probably were planning on, probably just didn't get the time to.
Right, they were going to make
She's
themselves.
the first time
Yeah.
they got to do it. And so I imagine that was the future because she's the first, success of it. So they haven't
Yeah.
really gotten a chance to add it to anyone else yet. She's the only clone
Yeah.
to do that. So she's like I said, they printed her out, they let her get big enough to where they could see, okay, yeah, she does have that count.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm sure they were about to start when the Empire was like, hey, we're going to cease your clone. We're going to basically steal your clone technology.
Yeah. But gets Nalase's pad, starts breaking out, tapping everything in. Eventually gets to Crosshair. Crosshair does an amazing job of just insulting the stormtroopers to get them. He's just like, "You're gonna let me out of here. I outrank you." And they're like, "Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Who does he think he is? I'm gonna take your gun." What?
I mean, if he wasn't in prison, he technically does outrank them in a way.
Right? Yeah.
It's not wrong. So it's like he's technically not wrong.
I just love it because he's like, "I'm gonna take your gun." And the guy's like, "What?" He's like, "You'll see." Door opens. Mine. It gets that guy, of course, does the classic Crosshair thing where he lets the buddy shoot him so he goes down, then stuns the other guy. He's stunning people now, though. He's not just shooting right away.
I think it was because that was on the stun setting and it was quicker.
Quicker, probably, yeah.
I think he's a pretty ruthless still.
Oh, yeah. Later on, he shoots a bunch of them.
You need that to escape. You need somebody ruthless.
But then so does Omega. Omega's now like, I'm going to kill these guys to get out of here. I don't care anymore. They're not even clones.
They took her straw doll.
Yeah, they gave it back, but the big thing is like that's how removed she is now. She's like, no, I don't care about the Emperor anymore. I'll save clones. Those stormtrooper guys, I don't care about them. They're just
that's how the rest of the clone was doing. That's how they did if you watch back even in season 1, if they're stormtroopers, they shoot at them, and if they're clones, they use the stun.
Yeah. So
I think it's the first time we really see her with a blaster. Though.
Yes, she usually uses the bow, but yeah, she's just straight up. She just started blasting, bro. They get to the.
It's funny. Hunter's like, yeah, you're too little to have a blaster. I guess the bow's okay, but we're not giving you a gun.
Crosshair's like, here.
Crosshair's like, he just chunks it at her.
Yeah, you're gonna need this.
It's the first time we really seen him. Because Hunter's like always been like, no, we can't give you the gun.
Right.
It's Crosshair's like that one uncle's like, he uses curse words around her.
Yeah. No.
Hands her a beer.
Crosshair's the uncle that goes, no, wait, watch this.
He's the uncle that the rest of the uncles don't want him to get with. But
yeah, but it still has the best time.
He's the uncle that you need.
Exactly. And it works. They're able to get out through the old kennel where the first hound was released. They have to go sprinting, though, because they know there's going to be ray shields. And, of course, they get found out. The older girl clone goes to find Omega, sees she's not there. She goes, all right, they're goes to find them, actually, and then she hits a comm, which alerts everybody. But they do stun her. And she's like, I will let... I think she was serious, too, when she said, we don't have to tell anyone about this if you just come back now.
Yeah, and that's what I think it's partially programming.
Yeah.
So I think she's unique enough that she can break some of it, but not enough to where because she still does everything she's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to. She just, she gets a little gray areas,
Yeah.
like giving the doll back, and because she originally takes it away,
Yep.
and then she feels bad and gives it back. But yeah, and then they hear the dog noise because they release the hounds on them, and we
Mm-hmm.
find out that they will kill them.
Yeah.
So they will hear the hounds, so they're hurrying even faster, and then
They run into some other big monster that's apparently one of the monsters of the Mount Tantus area. This big like gorilla bear thing.
yeah, it looked pretty bearish.
Yeah.
But
Which
it's funny that the hounds just go after the
right at
bear
it. They're like,
immediately.
that's the bigger threat. They're not
I
wrong.
mean, yeah, the thing's gonna attack them if they're gonna stop the people. So yeah, they go in that, and it's a perfect distraction. We
Yep.
never see any of them again,
Yep.
except for the pet she's been training.
She calls it Batcher. She gave it a name. Batcha.
I will say though, she does have the force that is very similar to a lot of Jedi's that
She's
able
yes.
to connect to animals very easily.
I mean, we
But
see it on the second season when she connects with that electrical dragon thing that's like siphoning the energy of the ship and stuff. So yeah, her ability to like just be lucky, smart, and connect to animals, that's very force sensitivity like vibed.
be able to for an animal an attack, like even dogs in our world that are trained to be fighting dogs, it takes a lot to get that out of their system.
Yep.
And they weren't even like, it wasn't normal. She was able to kind of bond with it very quickly, even though
Yeah.
it was time jumps. It's still, you think about how like, and those aren't like normal dogs, those are more like wolves. So the
Right.
fact that she was able to bond with it like that definitely shows traits of having the force.
Even if it was a full year she was there, that they don't break that kind of training that quickly with 4 chicken nuggets a day.
Yeah, and able to add medicine to a wound
Right.
without it attacking you when
And
you're
yeah,
literally touching
right.
the wound with medicine that probably stings real bad.
Yep.
Even pets, I know people with actual like dogs that are loyal to them. You start adding medicine to their wound, they're gonna bite you.
Yep, because it hurts, and that's just their reaction. So she's really shown off a lot more of that skill. They make it out though. The ray shield, it's a dramatic. Ray shields are closing. Hemlock's like, lock it down, and Scorch is like, get everyone in order, and he's all ready to kill him. He's like, I'm so done with these two. Get rid of
Definitely,
them.
Obi-Wan wasn't there; he'd get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have made it. They do finally run away. A trooper escort lands over them as they're trying to get to this crash shuttle from the first episode. Of course, it doesn't work. They're not able to get a signal out. But when all look, I love it because Crosshair's like, "Do you know Plan 72?" And he's like, "Yeah, Tech had me memorize all of them." He's like, "Yeah, that sounds like Tech."
You know what's funny though? We're talking about the ray shields. When we were done talking about, I was thinking, it looks cool in the moment, but so how impractical is it to have that many shields just for dog kennels?
Well, it's like the ray shield too. It's like, why are you just?
Like
do you really
ray shields?
right? Do you really expect
need a ray shield?
Right? Is it supposed to? I just
why
don't
not
get
a mechanical door.
Yeah.
Why can't you just have a mechanical door?
Or just one ray shield.
Or you just need 2. One at the end of the long tunnel that apparently you need, and then one at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you don't even need a ray shield. That sounds like you gotta power those constantly. You just have metal doors that raise and lower.
Maybe they're just so sick and tired of people shooting doors and them staying locked or open depending on how they shoot it that they're just like, no, ray shields. You can't shoot them.
For the dogs. They're for hounds.
Right.
Maybe like I said, there's like 50 ray shields per tunnel.
If anything, the only thing I can think of is that's the weakest point of entrance that's not guarded heavily. So they were like, we'll put 90 doors there.
It's obvious now, though, that there's a hidden entrance there because you have a glowing ray shield, and you look. There's like 50 of them.
But they do make it out. They're able to. Yeah,
sorry,
you're fine. They get all the way, and this is when we have moments where Crosshair is showing his compassion a bit. She's like, "I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened. I tried so hard." Which, like you said too, in the beginning, Crosshair's like, "Why are the Emperor is here? Why are we trying to escape when the Emperor is here? The place is on the most highest alert possible."
I'm so glad they added that line. I love it when good writing comes into play when it's something obviously dumb and they're aware enough, like, this is dumb. Character points it out. I hate it in shows when they do. That's one of the reasons I like the pilot so much in Mando, because he points stuff out. It's like, do you not see what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah. Like, everybody's so oblivious.
But they take down this squad of troopers with help from Batcher, who shows up at the last second to help. They steal the ship from the troopers, which has got it like, if any of those troopers make it back to Tantus, they're immediately court-martialed, killed, something. They get in the ship, they start to take off. Batcher even comes with them, which is cute. She's like, it was really cool to see Crosshair goes up to fly, and Omega's just down there covering fire. Like she is invested in getting off of this planet.
I want you to realize how uncreative the name Batcher is.
Oh well, yeah, duh. She was just missing her brothers. She was like, "Well, we're not the Bad Batch, so I'll name you Batcher because you're one of us now."
Yeah, I guarantee you that's what she's gonna say when they have that thing with them.
Well, we can't bring that on board. He's one of us. His name is Batcher.
Just like the Gonk Droid's one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when she made him go back and rescue the Gonk Droid?
Yeah. Omega cares about everything. All the time.
She's the first person I know that's cared about a Gonk Droid.
Right. It is a really fun one. They do start to escape, and then, of course, they're like, all right, scramble the V-Wings, scramble the ships. Don't let them escape. And it's like, they get hit once. Things are not looking good. Even Omega's like, I can't shake them. I can't get us out of here. And that's...
I would say an Empire ineptability fashion that they didn't already have them in the air. They should have.
Right.
Like, you send the one squad out. You should have at least had the V-Wings flying around.
Yeah.
Why wait till emergency to scramble more?
It's one of those things, like, especially the Emperor's here. Like, everything needs to be as set up as possible. He's leaving. Like, the Emperor just leaves right before they do, pretty much. So they should have been like, okay, back to patrols, everybody. Back to normal, back to normal.
You literally, the Emperor's there, and you had somebody escape.
So send out the ships.
Find out. I would send out at least 3 squads and multiple V-Wings that are patrolling the air.
Right. But
you send out one.
Hey, welcome to Stormtrooper Plot Points. It's starting early.
At least they send a single clone commando.
Yeah. I liked it too because then they start to escape. It looks like they're not going to. I was fully prepared for them to re-crash land, get captured, brought back. No. She runs in because ding, 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 ding. The centrifuge is finally finished and it's a match. So now they can't kill Omega. Like they cannot.
I just want to see episode 4 starts with like they're leaving the atmosphere and you see like the Emperor's ship starting to dock with the Star Destroyer, and they're like go right past him. She's like, wait. The Emperor's like, what? And
I feel like they're going to immediately get over to the rest of the Bad Batch now because they have a ship, they have working comms.
Well, I think what we see in the trailer is that crashed ship on another planet. So I think they're going to not make it.
Yeah.
Or something. There's something that crash lands them, and then I'm guessing the other group will meet up with them.
At least they crash land. They're able to send out a signal, so at least they're in the sector now. And they're like, oh, they're over there. Let's go. I imagine by at the latest episode 5, they're completely reunited.
Yeah, well, they'll probably have to deal with the Empire because they'll probably be tracking the tail.
Oh, hell yeah. Because as he says, the Emperor gives... Because Hemlock is like, I want to become the leader of all the science division. And Palpatine's like, in due time. But then eventually gets to the point where, like, he's like, whatever you need, you will have it. And so Hemlock's like, cool, I'm literally going to throw the entire Empire at getting Omega back.
It doesn't have to worry about one scientist because he dies. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, he dies from his failed experiment on something about Rogue One.
Oh yeah. But it's gonna get crazy because Hemlock is not, now that he knows they have the match, which is the biggest thing that he was looking for. That's all Palpatine cared about. So that's all Hemlock is gonna focus on right now, and it just escaped. So he's got to go get them.
It would be cool if we see, because we see all this. If we see a young, what's his name, Gideon?
Oh yeah, a young Moff Gideon.
Yeah, because he's kind of involved with all the sciencey stuff. So
by this time, he's just Commander Gideon.
It'd be cool to see him like an interaction with him, just like a.
I want to see him interact with Palpatine because he had something. He was ready to try and take Palpatine's throne at the end of Mando. So I feel like they would have like some
Uh,
beef or something.
like he
But
salutes as the Emperor walks by, and the Emperor just scowls at him. He's like,
yeah,
I'm gonna take your spot.
exactly. But it's an amazing 3-part episode. It ends on a cool cliffhanger. You know, you see the Empire right behind them, and they finally break off, and boom, they hit hyperspace, and it ends.
Yeah, they started off slow, and then they left you wanting more, which is terrible.
Oh, they did it perfectly. Yeah, they did it so horribly perfectly.
It's so funny. My wife, her reaction on both the episode 1 and 3 is hilarious. Because episode 1, she's like, "Man, the episode wasn't very good. It was pretty slow."
Yeah.
And then episode 3 is like, she literally screamed, "It's over!"
Yeah.
I was laughing. It was like, yeah, we knew it was only like 30-minute episodes.
Right. But they do so good with that on these like high like escape episodes. You're like, what do you mean it hasn't been 30 minutes? It's felt like it's been 3 seconds.
I will say, that third episode did feel longer than the time.
Yeah.
They had so much impacted it,
Mhm.
jam-packed in there, and it didn't feel like it was rushed because it was a rushed episode, but didn't feel rushed.
And because they were smart enough to be like, all right, episode 1 lays all the groundwork, so episode 3 can just fucking take off.
Well, like you said, you think about the prison escape, like literally was not even a full 2 episodes. If you really do the time frame, but it didn't feel like it was, like I say, what, like maybe 45 minutes of the whole of her being in prison and the whole of that. But they set the groundwork up so well in episode 1, because that's the problem with some of these shows. Will do that, and they'll skim past it so quickly. That like even in Andor, I felt like the prison scene almost was rushed a little bit. Yeah, I felt like they did so well that I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I didn't feel like you just glossed past it. Because I think at season 2, there's a couple things that we glossed past some stuff pretty quickly.
But no, it's so good. And again, full prediction. I think they're going to meet up next episode, but at the latest, episode 5, we'll get the batch together. Probably get Crosshair back in his armor and stuff. I
like how the island place is like the new haven for clones.
Yeah. They're gonna send the 3 young clones to Pabu so they can just chill and relax on the island and stuff. I'm also wondering though, I guarantee they're probably going back to Mount Tantus. Like they're not gonna just leave. I feel like the Clone Rebellion is yeah, they're gonna free all the clones and start like a riot, pretty much. That way they can do whatever they were like, trying to do.
Yeah, I imagine something happens in Mount Tantus, and that's how we get the kind of the early First Order cloning situation going on. I wonder if that's where Sidious kind of sends that far away, because that gets blown up. So he's like, "This is so important," so he sends it far away. Plus, the Sith cult, like I said, using the Sith magic, so like the idea of using ancient Sith magic with modern technology cloning. To make this kind of perfect cloning process.
And Mount Tantus is more science than Sith, so Exegol is way more Sith than science.
And they got to send something far away because, like I said, I have a feeling they're going to lose Mount Tantus in this because we don't really hear from it ever again. And it's such a major Empire installation.
It's weird though, and I wonder if they're doing this just because Mount Tantus was even mentioned. But if I remember correctly, pipelined in the Vintage Collection now is a Luke, and a Sabayoth 3-pack figures from Dark Empire. So yeah, maybe they were just like, hey, we finally gave you guys Mount Tantus, so here's the Legends characters that came from there originally.
Yeah, and it's but yeah, I think this season will end with them probably getting. I think that's what the whole build up, because we get them escaped from them, so that they escape from the Empire. So like, how is this going to progress?
Yeah,
well, the Empire's going to really want her, and so I think the solution they consider is blowing up Mount Tantus to get rid of him, which isn't going to solve everything,
right?
So
honestly, my biggest prediction I had was that it was going to be Crosshair and Omega were the only ones that make it, and I'm now changing it to I don't know which of the Bad Batch or OG are going to make it. I think Omega's gonna die. I don't think she's gonna make it. I think that's like they win. Palpatine gets cloned, obviously, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna be just one sample of her blood that does it, or like she's gonna have to lose an arm or something, because they have to get enough DNA to keep replicating.
Well,
And
yeah, it's like with Rogue One. We know the bad guys are gonna win.
yeah,
So it's the ride that gets there.
but yeah,
Yeah,
now because of that though. I am like really on the edge of my seat. Like I don't know what's gonna happen. These episodes could go any way. Like I don't think no one's dying in the next like 4 episodes. Just why that wouldn't make sense unless it's like Echo, which would still hurt a lot.
you gotta be really confident though with your project, because to be able to clone yourself and how ambitious you are
Yeah.
and how powerful, and you're trying to give yourself the clones the same amount of powers you do. Um, you gotta be really full of yourself to not worry that one of those clones is gonna betray you.
Well, like with Snoke, like we found out, Palpatine was controlling kind of Snoke this whole time. But when you read the comics, Snoke was his own individual thing, even though he was like this weird kind of Palpatine clone.
Yeah.
So you have to. I guarantee until he was finally able to get like his creme de la creme clone, none of them were as powerful as he was. There was, yeah, like you said, his son was a force. It was a strand cast, but had no force abilities whatsoever.
Yeah, it's probably one of the early ones that couldn't. Well, I mean, wasn't that supposed to be like Rey's father or whatever?
Yeah, that's Rey's dad, and
They
so
had to have
he's
some kind of midichlorian count because Rey does. So
no, that's not how that works. You don't have to. The parents don't have to have anything.
well, that's what made her so special, is because she got it passed down from.
Yeah, like it skipped him and then went to her from the Palpatine bloodline. But like,
So you think
there's not a single like none of
reason why
Palpatine's
he
parents
failed, because he never thought about making a baby.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The missing ingredient was making a child.
Because that's my big thing too, and another reason why I really think essence transfer plays a big role into it is because that's what he was trying to do to Rey. As much as he was like, "When you kill me, you will be," yeah, because he was gonna put himself in her.
Yeah, that's what he does at the end. He tries to get her to. That's what they say too. They get the idea because they think that's what happened. They're gonna do with Luke.
Yeah.
The reason why he kept trying to get Luke to kill him was so he could transfer his dark energy. Because I guess apparently, if you kill a Sith, or you kill somebody when you have like hatred or whatever, it makes you a lot more vulnerable to do that too.
Yep. You have to be able to like defeat their mental power, and if you're already in a moment of weakness and like stuff like that, then he's able to just slip in there much easier. So, an all around though amazing premiere. Wow, it was so good. It was such a fun ride. Again, episode 1 set up episode 3 so perfectly. You had no questions during episode 3. You knew why things were the way they were. You knew when they were going to happen like that. You knew why it was already set up this way it was set up. It was really good.
Next week, the worst thing about next week is we're going to get a single 25-minute episode.
Yep. It's going to feel like it was over in 5 seconds.
Yeah, compared to what we got today with the 3-episode drop, which I thought was going to be 2 episodes, but I was surprised we got 3 on that one.
Oh yeah, no, it was a really well done thing. If the whole rest of the season is just kind of like this, have it a few ups, a few down, whatever, it's going to be great. This is going to be a great season. This finale is going to be phenomenal, and I am super stoked to see where the Bad Batch are pretty much going to end up in all of this.
I hope we get another animated show after this.
Me too.
This is our final season, which sucks because it's going to end off with a bang. It's going to be so good. I hope this isn't the end of animation.
Right. We know they will do more Tales of the Jedi, but like with you, yeah. Because animation does perfect for these little side stories. And as much as I'm done with the Skywalker saga, I'm fine with more like clone-centric stuff because it's not Luke and Leia and Anakin and like...
Well, the problem with the Tales of the Jedi is it's short.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not the same as these kind of shows.
Right. It's only going to be one season, kind of like 3-4 episodes, and then they move on.
Yeah. My fear is with seeing the numbers watched on shows on a business perspective, they don't see Bad Batch as as selling well as the other shows because normal non-hardcore Star Wars fans, like the normal people that got into Star Wars back into Star Wars because of Mandalorian and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really watch. Typically, at least the people I talked to that got back into watching, like we had James before.
Yeah.
They're like the ones that kind of like the old school Star Wars, and they don't really like watching stuff like that.
But then when
It
they
sucks.
do, yeah, because when they do, they go, "Oh, this is actually really good."
Yeah, and the cool thing about Bad Batch is you don't have to sit through a couple seasons for it to get good.
Right? The animation comes out looking good. It's all, again, they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, that's the problem with Clone Wars is like getting somebody who's never watched the Clone Wars. Like, just trust me, you're gonna have to watch a couple seasons, but it'll get there.
But speaking of getting there, guys, thank you so much for getting us sitting with us through this episode. It's going to be an amazing ride for the rest of this. And now every podcast hereafter, we got a little bit of something to talk about no matter what.
Until till this is over, and then what we got? Wait till May
or June. So far, there is a tentative, very tentative, so I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm going to cross my fucking fingers. June, like early June, June 9th or something, I think they said, is the tentative release date for the Acolyte.
Well, we're supposed to getting Skeleton Crew. I think it's gonna be closer to May though.
Oh, yeah, they're not saying anything about Skeleton Crew at all, so I have no idea.
Well, the original idea was we were supposed to get it last winter, and then it was supposed to be early this year, and then they just surprised us with Bad Batch instead.
Yeah.
So that's still supposed to be before Acolyte.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't be mad if they want to sneak it in there. I would much rather have Acolyte, but if they want to put Skeleton Crew in that like 2-month difference between these, go ahead. But
I have a feeling they're waiting till May 4th to drop.
Oh yeah,
Acolyte stuff.
I want it.
It's going to be torture, but I have a feeling we're going to get our full trailer, an actual trailer on May 4th.
I hope so. Gosh, I hope so. Like this most recent issue of Star Wars, the comic 43, it's so filled with Sith and Sith lore and dark side, and I just need more.
You think we're going to get a Mandalorian trailer too? The movie trailer?
It just started, so I doubt there's already a trailer being made.
I get that. If they just start filming, they've got to at least have some kind of teaser, something, some footage. They have to. I can't see them waiting like a whole year or half a year. I like to drop big stuff on May the 4th.
They do, but we've had a few May the 4th that had like nothing on them. They had like one
last year's May the 4th dropped a lot, so
the year before it did not.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. They
did become very ambitious lately with their projects.
Yeah, they have. So. And do it. Keep going. Like go ahead, but I again, not gonna hold my breath. Fingers crossed.
We still got 3 separate movies still coming out, not including the 2 sequels that are coming after one of them. Because we're still getting the old Jedi movie.
Yep.
We're getting the 3 sequel to the sequels, and then we are getting the Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
Yep. I still hate that title so much. Mandalorian and Grogu. Okay, you couldn't have
reminds me of the old like the Rugrats movie.
Yeah, Rugrats go to Paris.
Well, it's like the first one's called the Rugrats movie. It's like imagine the old like cartoon shows when they get their own movie.
It's just the movie, the show, the movie. The Mandalorian, the movie with Grogu. But
I want to see the cases of it have like the Mandalorian and like Tatches and Grogu.
And Grogu. Yeah, just like a little eat and Grogu. Well, guys, thank you so much for stopping by this week. Tell us down in the comment section what your favorite part of these 3 Bad Batch episode premiere was. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Have an amazing rest of your week. And as always, may the Force serve you well.
May the Force be with you.